It's the big leagues, Dynamax the ears if you can't hear me. The players that made it, they can't be forsaken, they hop in the block with me. Hey, y'all better fear me, follow me like some fairy.
Welcome everybody, it's Jay here, Jay Jingles, commissioner and creator of the MGU, specifically the MGU All-stars. We're going to do a fun little video today, actually. I think a lot of people were kind of interested in what other people thought of their draft, and everybody kind of wants like opinions, even though they don't really want opinions, but they do want opinions, but they don't want opinions. You know what I mean? And the other voice that you actually heard just now is actually my friend Octo. Introduce yourself, Octo. How are you?
Hey, I'm alive.
Me too.
I'm doing the bare minimum, so I deserve recognition as a male for that.
We set the bar nice and low.
Exactly. When nobody has any expectations, you're always going to exceed them by hardly doing anything. That said,
Nice.
I would say I exceeded expectations in the first season of the WPL. I'm the Season 1 champion. That doesn't make me especially qualified for what we're about to do, but I hope it gives some insight into my perspective in terms of what I've accomplished in a draft league format. I'm not just somebody who's never played before, or I was in one season and I got last place.
Well, actually, if we're gonna start dropping titles, yesterday I became the Sinnoh champion in BDSP. Just saying. It's kind of a big deal. Beat Cynthia.
Yeah, and there can only be one, I suppose.
I'm the only one.
Ignore the fact that we were doing it together, so I'm also the champion.
When I said that, I actually forgot you did it with me, and you beat it with a Chansey. No, a Blissey. You did it with a Blissey, and I did it with like a whole all-star team, and you just draft leagued your way to a victory, and I just bullied my way to a victory.
I find it interesting that you picked a Pokemon whose name starts with B and is fully evolved when I clearly led with Weasel.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you had a Weasel on that team. Yeah, just because you really wanted it to. You over-leveled, though. It needs it, though. It definitely needs it
Exactly.
as a Weasel.
Well, being under-leveled, you also level up faster. Thankfully, that's not anything that we're going to have to worry about necessarily for this draft league. Most of the players are going to be playing on Showdown. Is that right?
Yeah, I think just to kind of clarify that, I think somebody asked me, hey, can we play on card if we want to, if the other person wants to, and
Right.
Can we? And I kind of just thought about it. I'm like, this seems like a rash decision to just say yes, but I actually can't see why not. Like if I get the replays and
That's the thing. Yeah.
yeah, it's like the replays are quicker and stuff because we're going to be doing recaps and stuff like that. But
Right.
I actually think it'd be kind of nice and refreshing to have an actual cart replay. I think that'd be really neat. So yeah, go for it. But hey, if your opponent doesn't have it, guess what? You're playing on Showdown, and it's what it was designed for. But rather than do an exceedingly long intro, like I like doing, let's get it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over each team kind of quickly, but we might get into it a little bit when, because me and Octo here, we differ in opinions sometimes, but we also share a lot of opinions on these teams as well.
For sure.
We're going to talk about how good we think the team is, any needs we feel it might have, strong modes without getting into too much detail. But remember, everybody, this is opinion-based. Octo and I here, yes, we have a draft league experience, but we are by no means experts. I think pretty much everybody playing in this league has a little bit longer of a resume when it comes to draft league. Like we have one championship between the two of us on this podcast. Well, not podcast.
We have an average of less than one.
Yes, exactly. So, and I think everybody that's representing a league at some point has won multiple championships or at least one. So,
Right.
Keep in mind, everyone is going to disagree with us, but at the same time, this is really just food for thought. I think it's a fun little thing, and if we treat it as such, this could be a lot of fun for the listeners and also for me and Octo here doing it. So,
For sure.
So we've got nice little graphics here. Actually, we've got a bunch of logos and GIFs and GIFs. We won't get into that, but comment down below. GIFs or GIFs?
We'll be keeping. I'm interested to see how everybody's going to write that out. But yeah, as far as the GIFs that we're using, Oh, I've kind of asserted a position. Um, this is going to be the format for all 16 pages to keep it consistent. The tiers you're going to see in the free slots and where the draft logo goes. So Jay, you might have to put in a little extra work and make the transitions kind of pop so that it's really clear that we're going to the next team. Because I don't want it to be somebody's not looking at the exact moment and we just like ninja over to the next one.
Oh, there will be much ninjaing. Yeah,
Oh,
I just made.
well, I mean, maybe if people are prepared for it, that's also better. And we'll introduce every team as we bring them up,
Absolutely.
ideally. So at least that way you know that we've moved on to another one. One quick point, though, with how we are evaluating the teams. So it is based on our opinion. I hope that's clear. But we also have our own specific perspectives on what
Yes.
normally makes a successful team that's based on our play preference, but also what we've seen work.
Yep.
So if there's a team that we evaluate lower, we're also not saying that it's not a good team. We're saying that it doesn't fit our vision of what a successful team is as much as the higher rated teams. So that's also a bit what it's based on. I mean, for me, I really like to have the fastest fast mode and the slowest slow mode and power
Yeah.
to boot.
Yeah, I think that that just kind of hit it right on the head. Me and Octo here, we have experience in our league, and I think we've kind of seen other leagues. We haven't really had a ton of experience in others, so I'm actually really.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I was in the front office for Manby in the XDL.
that's a little bit of a resume flex there as well, because Manby went 9-1.
Yes, he was first place in the at the end of the regular season.
Wow. Yeah, that was man. He had such a good team. That sounds like another episode that we can talk about that one, because that was a lot of fun to actually watch, and it wasn't as big as the WBE, but it was still a lot of fun to watch.
True.
So so let's actually hop into the first team, and we're gonna go in alphabetical order just so people don't think we're picking favorites. But we're gonna start with the British Pokemon League (BPL). And the first thing you look at on this team is right in the middle, you see Kingdra Pelipper, and very, very scary duo. That Swift Swim ability is just an absolute monster that you have to recognize.
For sure.
And Kingdra only having two weaknesses in Dragon and Fairy is just so good defensively too, and its bulk is I think 95 across the board. Am I right?
Let's see.
Ooh, if it's gonna go like this, I'm just gonna throw random stat questions at you. It's like, is this like this? I don't know, Jay. Is it?
Well, usually I'm pretty good with this.
Oh, yeah.
If memory serves, Kingdra has mostly 85s across the board.
Screw it, I'm looking it up right now.
100% sure on that.
I'm looking it up right now. This is going to go much better, everybody. It's just the first one. I just asked a question that I wasn't ready for. 95, I was right. Huzzah.
And then 75 for the HP.
Correct.
Leaving an average of 85. Ha!
You are correct. 10, 10. I think it's 90, isn't it?
The difference is 20. So an average between 95 and 75. That's only if you're comparing two stats, though. So it's an average with HP and defense. It's 85 in both on average. But it's 75-95 defense, 75-95 special defense, which I would argue is better than 85 in both. The defenses are a bit more impactful in the damage calculator. So this is actually better than if it were 85s across the board. And especially for offense, having 95 over 85 is a plus.
Yeah, I think just Kingdra with I'm just looking at it looks very 95, 95, 95, 90. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't look like anything special until it gets on the field. I think the introduction of Dynamax in Gen 8 with Max Airstream has just really, really helped out Kingdra a lot, because if you do change that weather, it still has the +1. And not to mention, you throw a Life Orb on this thing, its coverage is good enough. And not to mention setting rain and things like that. Now your second hit does an extra 50%. Kingdra definitely stands out as one of the coolest things on this team and a lot of fun. But Whimsicott, how do you feel about Whimsicott there, Octo?
Mama.
I've had it before,
mean,
and it's It makes everything better. And I think when we were going over these rosters yesterday, one of the things that I said is with Prankster, Tickle, and Fake Tears, all of your average Pokemon, not to mention Prankster Tailwind, so it makes your attack better, it makes your special attack better, and your speed better with Tailwind, Fake Tears, and Tickle. So I just think something like Magmortar, which usually suffers from
like a speed.
Yeah, mid-speed, things like that. It just makes it so much better. So I think Whimsicott plus anything on this team, not to mention a Trick Room setter, which I think it's just very undervalued as a Trick Room setter, can be very, very good. So I think add Whimsicott, this team is really good. Take it away. I think it's missing some things and is a little one-dimensional when it comes to the rain, because I see Ferrothorn, Zapdos, things like that. It's very rain-based, it seems like, as its best mode. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Rain's clearly the strongest aspect. It is a bit unfortunate for the BPL that Whimsicott can't set rain themselves. I mean, Prankster Rain Dance is amazing, but not an option here. However, there are alternate modes as well. It's not like Pelipper, Kingdra have to come every week, or if they do, they don't need to carry the teams by themselves. So yeah, Ferrothorn on the slow side. Pincurchin is even slower, which is a plus.
Yeah, 15, I think, right? Yeah.
Pretty sure, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interested to see how well the Thievul and Pincurchin combination will do, because Thievul with Burden gets insanely fast, but Pincurchin is literally the slowest terrain setter. So I'd be interested to see if they're going to combo and how well they support each other, because yes, the terrain is helpful for activating Burden, but yeah, because of that huge difference in speed, I'm just curious how well that'll combo. But yeah, there are a few different options here. There was one thing that we felt like was really standing out as like oh man, I mean, if they had this, it would really help out the team. What was that again?
It has Trick Room, but Whimsicott and Jinx they've got it. It's like Alakazam set in Trick Room, you know? Like, I feel like
fast.
Like when it comes to Jinx, like they're very similar when it comes to very, very low HP and defense. Quick enough, very fast, but sure, at the -5 priority on Trick Room, it doesn't really matter how fast you are. But I think Whimsicott can be a sneaky Trick Room setter. As the only really good Trick Room setter on this team, I kind of wish it had one more. And I think both you and I kind of agreed on that. So, and I think what they can do, and we're going to go over this with each team as well, probably not this in depth. This is our first one, so we're probably going to speed up a little bit as we go, or else everyone's going to be here for 2 hours. But Passimian, I like on this team as well. Funnily enough, it actually gets Electro Web. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. Really weird Game Freak.
I think.
Yeah, Game Freak logic.
But otherwise. Yeah.
I love Defiant. I love Defiant just in general. I think any competitive in Defiant is just awesome. But if I had to pick something to go, I'd probably say Passimian would go. And then you can grab a more reliable Trick Room setter that might be a little more bulky than Whimsicott or Jinx. Maybe on the defensive side, because Jinx, is a little bit of a special, has more defense on the special side. So,
for sure.
But yeah, I think if you added that, now you have something really to think about. Now Ferrothorn gets incredibly good, and Pincurchin gets really good with that electric terrain and the rising voltage. It can just do a lot of damage. Right. So I really like that. I like the team as a whole. I don't think anyone has a bad team really out of the 16 teams. I just think there are some that stand above the others. I think when we were ranking them, we didn't rank one below C. Like most of them were B.
There was no way.
And even the one we ranked in the C tier was like, I don't think this belongs here. Like, what were we thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I think everyone had a good team, S, A, B, C, D. Everything was mostly in the B, but there were some standouts that we'll get into as well. But, yeah, I think that kind of puts a nice little bow on the BPL. So, yeah, you don't have to listen to us when it comes to the coaches. I think Aaron knows what he's doing in the BPL.
For sure.
He's definitely got a good resume. But this is definitely advice. If somebody listens to us, I think that'd be really cool, and we'll brag about it later. But but yeah, I do think a nice Trick Room setter on this team. Like you've got Fake Out in your Jinx and your Kangaskhan as well, so it's a little easier to set Trick Room as well. So yeah, we'll have to see what he does. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how he runs this team, because I see things and you see things based on what we think, but who knows? Maybe Magmortar's an absolute monster in the BPL that we're unaware of, and he's just licking his chops, right? So we'll have to see. Which brings us actually to our next team, the Chill Draft League, the CDL. So right off the bat, this team looks very mixed bag to me, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't look like a bad thing, but
I would say one other thing stands out for me, and that's bulky offense. Like Galarian Rapidash isn't the bulkiest, but they're kind of thicker than like fast Pokemon in general, and Suicune epitomizes
bulk
thickness.
Yeah.
Gudra, especially on the special side, but on the physical side, like the stats are still fully reasonable. Rillaboom, especially on the physical side, has some bulk. Really good historically assault vest user, and Rotom has low HP, but the defense and special defense are both over 100, so like that's really quite solid. Stakataka is a unit and is built like one. So there's and I would say Scrafty also
95s,
really quite bulky and intimidate.
Yeah.
So like so I'm really liking that as a strong point. Just a lot of bulk here. There's a bit of fast support. I like a fast icy one, which is immune to Fake Out. There is a Tailwind option, Prankster option. There is a slow Trick Room setter here. However, like aside from Stakataka, I'm not seeing a Trick Room sweeper.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things we agreed on as well. Like we see Stakataka, kind of going off as it does. If it has the right matchup, obviously, fighting and ground is not exactly what it wants to see. I think having Levitate and Flying Mons around, which is kind of nice, and you got Rillaboom as a switch in for the ground and things like that. I think adding a Trick Room sweeper would probably be the way to go. It's kind of hard to find one in the D tier. I think having Suicune is really nice with Tailwind. It's a very reliable way of getting Tailwind up. Like Suicune with Mental Herb.
With Inner Focus.
Yeah, Inner Focus can't be faked out, and then it's got Mental Herb on it if you choose to do so. It's really hard to stop this thing from setting Tailwind. So I think that's a really good way, which also makes Unpheasant a little bit of an excess. So it's kind of hard to make a D tier swap and have a major impact, but there are a lot of slow offensive mons that didn't quite make the cut on some people's rosters. So I think in this case, I think it could be actually quite beneficial by just making a simple change. Maybe even your the Flygon, but Flygon does kind of keep that fast mode going. But I think go ahead.
Flygon is a fan favorite, and I think it's well deserved. The design is really cool. I like the area in which you catch the Trapinch. Trapinch Brava and Flygon all have really different designs, which I think is also cool. Flygon has a bit of history in our draft league, and I gotta admit, it really colors my perception of Flygon in draft league. I think, yes, the team's average speed goes way down if Flygon goes out for Trick Room Sweeper, but I would say the same thing is true of Unfezant. Unfezant is a fast max airstreamer, which I think is a plus for sure. Flygon is not. Flygon has Levitate for ground immunity, but so does Unfezant. And so I would probably take out the Flygon. I don't know off the top of my head what the best Trick Room Sweepers are in C tier who are still available.
Yeah, they're probably, and that's another thing too. I think value in a tier is definitely something to consider when you're making a move, because like Okay,
what?
I could make an argument if I own this team saying that, I'd probably go in the D tier and grab something, but at the same time, if you can get a better Trick Room Mon in the C tier, you're going to obviously have better Mons because they're tiered accordingly. I think Steelix is in there, which I think might not fit exactly on this team, but you know what I mean? There's something that's a little threatening on the Trick Room side that's a little better than the D tier has to offer. But one thing actually stands out on this team that I actually didn't look at or even mention to you when we were talking about this. It's just funny when you look at a roster a second time or a third time, you're just like, oh yeah, that's actually really neat, is the synergy between Goodra and Scrafty. With 150 special defense, this thing won't die if you have a -1 attack on the other side of the field.
Right.
Like, obviously Goodra suffers from a little bit of offense, but I think it has the move pool to be successful, and it also longevity on the field is also a nice characteristic to have as well. So Goodra, I'm actually looking forward to seeing Goodra. I know that he was talking it up in the chat. I think it was player chat. He was saying how good it was, and I was like, we'll see. I see Ice Shard next to it in the C tier with the Frostlass as well, so you can activate that weakness policy. So I think I see a lot of options on this team. I think it's pretty good. And not to mention Meowstic, which is basically poor man's Whimsicott. But do different things. But again, I think this is just a solid roster. Again, Rillaboom we haven't even mentioned, but we could go all day long about Pokemon because we love it so much. But
exactly.
So I'll actually let you start off the EDDL because this is one of the rosters that we thought were actually one of the better ones. Why did you feel that way?
A couple things which jump out immediately. Kofagrigus is, for me, a really good Trick Room setter. One of the best redirectors in the game is Togetic. There isn't any competition for Eviolite realistically. Like, there's Riolu, but Riolu often works best with a Focus Sash, I would say.
Yeah.
But then you've got, like, Lightning Rod, which is good for the Tornadus, the Togetic, the Barraskewda. You got Redirection, which is really good for frail Pokemon like Barraskewda. I see a fast mode with Prankster Tailwinds, and the slow modes has Kofagrigus, and I have a personal affinity for Lurantis. So I think that they're a good fit also. I like also that there's a few options for like cleanup sweeper. Sock, Jolteon, Barraskewda, Naganadel theoretically can all fill that role really nicely.
I hate that thing, Naganadel.
I feel like it's got a lot.
I got swept by it in the playoffs last season, everybody. So I have a special hate for Naganadel. So this thing's the worst team in the league because it has it. So
petty.
Oh my goodness. I think I got one kill. Anyway. But no, it's just that good.
I don't think you did.
No, in game 2 I got one.
Did you?
No, he didn't. Okay. He didn't 8-0 me. No. I got one. I got one. Okay. Now I have to go back and look, but it's like, why am I going to take this guy's advice? He got 8-0'd and just admitted it. I think any team you add Metagross to is, especially in a Dynamax format, is just such a strong Mon, right? With the ability Clear Body, not being able to lower its attack is just, you have to go for Will-O-Wisp to stop this thing from going. And not to mention you hard prep against the Metagross, you have to deal with Barraskewda with the coverage that it has and the speed that it has. And I see a lot of options on here. And you mentioned Prankster Tailwind with Tornadus, which is the one that stands out, makes Metagross even better. But Barraskewda, you can Prankster Rain Dance with Riolu as well. Like you can run Barraskewda with
or Tornadus.
It gets that as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking more so like if you could run a coaching strat with the Barraskewda to boost its attack before it gets its
good.
Not to mention it gets the Rain Dance boost on its water attack, the one that happens before it gets to go. And just does a crazy amount of damage as well. So I feel like you can run that as a lead, and then worst case scenario, if you're already faster, you just coach. If you're not faster, you set the rain, and you know what I mean? I think this team has a lot of options and is very, very cool. If I had one thing to say about it, though, if I had to pick something, and I don't have to, but I will, Sock, you gotta go.
I disagree on this one, by the way, as an aside.
Which is actually really cool. I think it's actually really nice that we
Mm.
have different opinions on what move we would make, because
Yeah.
we do want to mention one move per team that we think would be an improvement. I think having Sock, I think it adds a nice physical element, and it gets decent coverage, and Mold Breaker and Focus is really nice. But I think that you might, if I had to pick something on this team with the ghost weaknesses that I see on, your Trick Room Setter, and not to mention your Metagross is one of the things that does take care of it in a sense. I think that adding a nice normal type on this team would be kind of nice. Any normal type. I think there's a lot of them, right? Just kind of having a switch in for it would be really, really nice. It just completely immune to it would be nice. But I'm actually curious what you think. We didn't talk about this.
Yeah, true. For this team, I didn't really have like a solid recommendation. I mean, Lightning Rod is good with Marowak, and I didn't mention before, but Marowak is a strong Trick Room Sweeper as well.
Thick Club?
Yeah, with Thick Club specifically, base 80 is such an amazing stat to be able to double.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where's the Fake Out?
Ooh, I never even noticed that. Yeah.
That seems like it would be nice to have. I mean, it's certainly not a necessity, especially not in a Dynamax format, but having Fake Out typically just lets things go a little more smoothly over the course of a match. I see Fake Out almost every game.
Yeah, it's just so good.
Or, somebody who has it. So, yeah, that could be a nice positive to add to the team. I could see Sock coming out to accommodate that, but also with like two Prankster users,
Yeah.
switching out Riolu could also make sense. But
for the value,
I see some sneaky plays though with Riolu, but I'm gonna try and keep hush hush about what I can see. I think it's okay to talk about more on the surface combinations and strats. I think there's something that could even maximize the. I like maximizing the value of Pokemon, especially Pokemon who have Prankster, and I think having a Rain Sweeper and then a Rain Setter and a Tailwind Setter, all, who have Prankster to support them is really good synergy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, what if I just said Metagross because I don't like Metagross's design?
Oh my goodness.
That's not valid.
I think I would
That's not
have.
valid.
I think I would have 15 free agent acquisitions or inquiries after that's dropped. I think you can add this thing to any team. But yeah, like I kind of like it. I've also faced it, and it's not fun. So that's one of the reasons why you're just like, what do you do? But yeah, EDDL. I think a very, very solid roster. And if we say one of the recommendations we make is a D tier, the team's pretty darn complete for the most part. Like if drop one of the more insignificant members of your team on the D tier.
Whoa.
Sorry,
whoa,
D tier does
whoa.
not mean insignificant. It just means
Cottony last season. Hello.
You live in the D tier. Octo. If nobody listening other than WPL members probably know how Octo plays and what he drafts and stuff like that, he loves the lower tiers and making them work, and he does very, very good at so. So I'm actually kind of curious to see recommendations for like additions to kind of make it work, which maybe we can even make in the future a underused Pokemon video for Draft League. I think that would be a lot of fun, like mostly D tier, call it, or something like that. But put a pin in that, Jay. Hey, future Jay, write that down when you're listening to this in editing. But this brings us to the GADL. GADL. So when it comes to this team, the first thing that stands out to me is Glalie. I hate to say it. You don't see Glalie a ton in the WPL. I think it's been drafted once and sat on the bench all season.
I think they came out eventually, but we were waiting all season. So
for these shenanigans in quotations, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't discount Glalie on this team. I think it's not a secret that Glalie can use Frost Breath. to trigger Anger Point on Tauros, because a really iconic combo is Frostlass Tauros. So, I mean, that is doable. There's a reason that Frostlass is favored over Glalie for that, but I mean, hey, you want to make it work, you make it work. You know what I mean?
And Choice Scarf's a thing too. Like I can definitely see something like that working, and you always got to respect it. And that's the cool thing about Draft League is you see a strat, you see synergy with two mons that might be unlikely, but you still have to respect it because if they do it,
Right.
you in Draft League I've seen so many 4-0 wins. It's just a 3-turn sweep sometimes, right? You just get a double KO in one turn, and then you just KO, game over. I've never experienced that before in round 1 of the playoffs last season. I see a lot of really cool mons on this team. Like the Dragapult, whenever you add Dragapult to a team, is just so good. And Gyarados since Gen 1 in RBY has always just been a monster. And I don't think Gyarados has ever been bad in any generation ever, which is a really cool thing and not easy to say about everything. From Gen 1. So I see Gyarados, you got two Intimidate users, but Moxie is also really cool on Gyarados as well. It can really, really just start snowballing once it gets going. So when I look at this team, I see a lot of offense in a sense that I see a lot of Dynamax candidates. I think Magnezone could be underlooked. And not to mention, I don't like Rhydon as the primary Lightning Rod user because I definitely see that on this team for Gyarados, which is kind of nice. But 130 attack, like I didn't know that it had 130 until maybe 10 minutes before this episode started airing or recording. But
I mean, the most iconic rock ground types from Gen 1 are Onyx, Golem, and Rhydon, and I think it's very fair to say that Onyx and Golem did not get that much love in the stat department.
Poor Onyx.
Rhydon, though, I mean, you get Rhyhorn initially in Safari Zone, and they evolve really late. And
I think it's
pretty much
50.
the only other Pokemon. What's that?
I think it's 50 actually in Gen 1. I remember saying, no, I'm not waiting that long.
It's something really high. Dragonite evolves at 55 if memory serves. And Dragonite stats are amazing. So that was really the precedent. If you have well, they're also, you can get a Dratini and Celadon City through the game corner, but they're also one of those Safari Zone pickups. They're just really good Pokemon. Safari Zone, Kangaskhan, Chansey. Yeah, so in that regard, I think it makes sense to find out. Yeah, Rhydon actually does have good stats and access to Eviolite.
Yep. Eviolite Rhydon can definitely make up for his lower special defense stat. Maybe not quite as much, but I think it can be really good. Like, hey, Kartana can make it work. I think Rhydon can make it work, right? With the Assault Vest.
Yeah, I would say so. It is also fair to say that Rhydon does have a few more weaknesses.
maybe
Kartana,
one or two. Yeah. Horndrill, Okomus, you gotta love them. You know what's funny? We haven't mentioned this, and I think it's one of the coolest things on this team is Comfey.
I'm a big Comfey stan. If ever I see Comfey in prep, because I haven't been able to draft Comfey yet, I get flustered. There's just so much Comfey can do, and it's really hard to anticipate before going into the match what Comfey will even go for. And the last time I faced Comfey, I was like trying to play around Trick Room, and I never found out if that Comfey has Trick Room or not. I still think it could have been the right play, but it would have been really nice to know one way or the other. Would have given me more options, would have given me some more certainty. That's the beauty of Comfey, first and foremost. But Triage is also personally one of my all-time favorite abilities.
Oh, yeah.
And there are a few Pokemon who can pair up with Comfey, who can activate our weakness policy.
Weedle to a Needle shout out. Yeah, I love Comfey too, man. Like, Triage is just such a cool ability. Like, giving all healing moves +3 priority, which is the same as Fake Out. I think that's... People don't realize that, Fake Out, crap, I can't do it. No. Comfey being 100 base speed if you have a slow fake out user like a Scrafty or something like that, this thing gets its triage, like the Draining Kiss on the Dragapult or the Hawlucha or something like that, or Floral Healing for that matter. It gets it going before, which I don't think a lot of people know. I think every coach probably does because they're clearly
here. Yeah.
Yeah, here, yeah. I think they know. But to our listeners, though, I think it's. You know, another thing we want to accomplish too with these videos as well, this is the first of many, but is also a lot of people listening play Draft League, right? So if this makes you even just a little bit better, like, oh, I didn't know that. You know, I think that just kind of icing on the cake for this. This is just for entertainment, just to kind of people that have an investment in the league at the moment, whether or not they're supporting one of their league representatives that they come from, or whether or not they just like good, high quality, best on best Draft League. I think if you learn a little bit, that's just icing on the cake. So that's just one little side note thing. But again, we can go on for hours about every single one of these teams. So, but just to put a bow on this team, I'd say if there was one thing or one move I could make on this team, because it's also very, very good. I like this team. I know it's a weird one because you have Comfey and Hawlucha right beside each other, and not to mention Hawlucha's right next to the Grassy Terrain setter for the Unburden boost on both of them, or from both of them for that matter. I think that because the B tier has so much value in it, I think there's so many mons that could add something to this team in the B tier. And I think because you have Thwacky just activating a seed on anything it wants to hold it. You know, you've already got the Comfey Dragapult with the Draining Kiss weakness policy activation. I think that's already a strat that people prepare for. So I think you can add something in the B tier as well. And, you know, it'd be really, really nice. Talonflame makes things so much better. I don't think Dragapult needs a Tailwind boost, obviously. Gyarados could benefit from it, but can also Airstream itself. But I think adding a nice, hard-hitting special attacker in the B tier, maybe a Dynamax option preferably, but not to mention Magnezone's just sitting down there that would love a Tailwind boost. I think you actually mentioned that yesterday as well. I'll give you credit for that. But I think a nice special attacker to go with that priority Tailwind with the Gale Wings ability, I think would just be so nice on this team. What do you think?
I would, with regard to Tailwind next to Dragapult, I love doubling down. Because people like to try to counter these fast sweepers. So Dragapult has base 142 speed. People go, oh, I choice Scarf, now I'm faster.
Yep.
When you also have Tailwind to worry about, that gets a bit more complicated.
Yep.
Also, you're getting more value out of Dragapult's speed if you have Weather and Prankster. So I love that combination. Hawlucha, I think you already have Draining Kiss specifically even for Dragapult, right? Dragapult also has Airstream. So I don't know that Dragapult and Hawlucha are different enough to say that it's optimal to have both. There is a secret tech that I'm not going to mention, which I see with Hawlucha, so I think that Hawlucha can justify their staying there. But what if, yeah, I want to see Magnezone in action. I'm not 100% sure I see Magnezone coming often on this team.
That's a fair point, actually, yeah. But
it is also fair to say Magnezone is the premier special attacker on this team.
Which is another good point as well. And yeah, like that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to get rid of Magnezone was because I think that it needs one more. So if you replaced it, I think it would definitely add something. But I think it might need it. I think Hawlucha you definitely have to respect with Unburden and not to mention a weakness policy strat that doubles its speed and doubles its attack. Oh my god. Very, very cool tech. So is there anything in, I'm just going to kind of throw this at you. You can say I don't know. Is there anything specific that would fit perfectly on this team, not even caring if it belongs to another team right now when it comes to a special attacker? Maybe.
I mean,
something in the D tier. Oh yeah. I like Inteleon. I love Inteleon just in general. I think Dragapult and Inteleon.
Oh, work. Yeah. I love Inteleon. Inteleon Dragapult to me just isn't fair.
Inteleon, I think,
that's
is an
a
A
really
tier,
perfect combo.
unfortunately. But I do think just if you're looking for something that might go well with this team, I think Inteleon with its speed and its special attack would just be really, really nice. But maybe you can find an Inteleon type thing in the B tier. So I think Sean is the actual coach of this team. So curious if he's going to make any changes or if he's just going to kind of go in as it is. And I think all of these teams can just go into week 1 as is, which is actually really neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to confirm, that is Sean's team. Actually, I don't have the coaches up right now. There's too many of you. There's too many of you for me to remember. So if I get it wrong, I apologize in advance. But GADL onto the difference in one letter, the GLDL, Great Lakes Draft League. Let's bring that up right there. There's the team. I love this team.
Kitties.
Yeah, there's a couple cats on this team. I love this team. Do you love this team?
Love's a strong word. Well, there are 2 cats, so I'm happy. Diggersby and I go way back.
Diggersby, though? Sorry, I had to. I'm sorry.
Well, if you didn't, I was going to, so there's that.
Yeah.
I think I was even maybe the one who introduced it to you.
I actually saw it in a Fevsy video.
Oh.
I think it was in the WBE, and every single time he brought it... No, he wasn't in the WBE. He was in the X9, right? I think he was in X9. One or the other. I could be wrong, and I don't think it really matters in the end. But
yeah, he was definitely in X9 because I was harping on him about Archeops like every single week, and he finally brought Archeops, and I was like, "See, I told you."
It's actually amazing. Its defeatist ability definitely makes it one of the things people don't want it for, but.
Yeah.
What if you Dynamax it and you kill things before it kills you? 145 is a big number.
Yeah.
And I think it's 120 or 115 on the speed, or 112. Actually, it might be 112.
110.
110. Okay. There's that. Airstream.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes it better.
Okay, so for this team, what there is to love, there's a bit of bulky offense. Okay, in a non-Dynamax format. Without the Gen 8 power creep, you can live a lot with the oh my god, Kickbird. Blaziken. There we go.
Kickbird, and then you got it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, something about like short-circuiting my system allows it to restart. Otherwise, I just stall out. I don't know how that works, but yeah, Tangela has redirection, Sleep Powder, powerful. Regidrago, I personally love to see, especially shiny. That would make me happy. Aerodactyl has one of my favorite abilities, Unnerve. You don't want to run Unnerve 1 week. Persian has Unnerve, and
Yep.
Yeah, there is some synergy which has been talked about between Tapu Koko and Liepard. You have Unburden, but also the support moves that Liepard gets are conducive to Tapu Koko sweeps, basically. Slow mode, good Trick Room setter, and Musharna. I like the ability revealing nature of Forewarn, and one of the best Trick Room sweepers, I would say, Escavalier.
Oh yeah. Its coverage is crazy.
For sure, and the bulk, but also the damage output. All of it's just really good.
Like access to Max Knuckle, and you got a sneaky Razor Shell, which is a really, really nice rain setter.
For the fire type.
Yeah, a rain setter for
not
yourself.
Not that they're weak to fire.
No, it's not like it's only 4 times weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this team too. Everything you're saying is just kind of taking the words right out of my mouth. I think the only thing we didn't mention was Milotic, and we don't really need to introduce that thing.
I think I said Milotic, and then that was it.
That's
which
all
isn't
you
really
need.
saying anything.
That's all you need is like Milotic. Drop the mic and just walk out. That's it. It's competitive. This team is definitely one that wants to be intimidated too, which is one of the things I love about competitive as well. I mentioned earlier is I think having a Pokemon with competitive or Defiant on a roster that doesn't really draw in that intimidate I feel like you don't get the most value out of. So when you have mons like Coco, which has a really good attack, not special attack, decent special attack actually, Escav, Diggersby, you definitely want to have Intimidate against them. So Milotic can definitely turn into a support mon to a one offensive move sweeper in a specific situation where a stat drop happens. That thing, not to mention if you Icy Wind this thing, it doesn't care about its speed anyway. So
True.
Yeah, so good. You got to be careful with the stat drops, Snarls, Intimidates, Icy Winds, Electrowebs, things like that. So maybe buff yourself when you're facing this thing. So rather than lowering their own, because a defense boost is just as good as an attack boost on their side or an attack drop from your side. So yeah, man, I think this team definitely, you have to respect the Regidrago with the Dragon Energy. I've seen that thing just run through teams, just 2-turn win, right? You got the right speed, you got the right 4 on your other side of the field. You know, this thing can win in 2 turns. So you definitely have to respect that. And not to mention the Liepard just makes everything better. Yeah, not to mention Aerodactyl. A lot of people don't know this too. Like, not know this, but usually you look at the rest of the team and you forget about Aerodactyl. Max Rockfall from that thing, it doesn't just do damage from stab damage. Like, its attack is good. I think it's 100. I think it's 100, 105. I think it's 105.
105.
Boosting your special defense after the attack with 130 base speed it's almost like you're gaining an assault vest every turn. You know what I mean? Like, and you could have a life orb on it, and then you get your sand up, and now your special defense is an extra 50% higher, right? So I think that thing can be very, very sneaky good on this team. So especially with the synergy with a stab earthquake from Diggersby could be really cool. Airstream next to it, it gets
that Airstream.
Yeah, max Airstream, and then earthquake off, right, with huge power. Very, very cool. Is there any move that you think this team might benefit from?
Okay, because of the synergy talked about between Liepard, Tapu Koko, like, my hands being a bit forced here. I'm seeing a lot of similarities between Persian and Liepard. They're 10 points of speed apart. Neither of them. Well, I mean, Liepard has 90 attack, but like, yeah, they both fit more of like a fast fake out support role overall. So like, I feel like one of them could go to give another option to the team, just to make it even more dynamic. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say Persian needs to go, Persian sucks, because I won with Persian, so I love Persian. But yeah, if the synergy between Liepard and Tapu Koko is that good, and Persian and Liepard are really filling that similar role, I can see for the long-term success of the team dropping one or the other. But because of that synergy, if it's Persian, like, I understand. But I think it's okay to keep Persian to let Liepard go, personally. The question is then, what are you picking up? Because you are losing Prankster on Burden.
Yeah, I think he loves it too, I think. So like, that's another thing. I think that's the main core he wanted. So yeah.
Is that why Persian came too? Second Liepard?
Yeah, you wanted 2 of them.
Can't have enough.
But you also mentioned the overlap in Unnerve as well with the what's called the Unnerve ability with Persian and the Aerodactyl as well. So yeah, I do see some overlap as well. So
well, it's really good if you need another ability, but you need Unnerve to have that backup.
Yeah, and you don't have to run Unnerve on one of them. You could run the other one. So you could definitely go with something like that. So it can stay. It can stay. But I think if we had to make a move, I don't think this team needs one. It's also very solid.
Right.
That would probably be the one to go for me. What to pick up? I think maybe just a special attacker if you had to pick something. You know, I think this team has enough special attack for success. But I think that if you added one more, I don't even care what mode it is, slow or fast, maybe preferably slow, because Musharna doesn't quite hold its own on an offensive standpoint. So I think that this thing could that one move can definitely benefit from a special attacker on the slow side. But does it need it? Absolutely not. I think this thing just wrecks. No. This team wrecks face just on its own. For sure. Very, very cool team from Great Lakes. Lord Helix. The Lord Helix. When it comes to this team, what's the first thing that stands out when you look at this team? The very, very first thing, like, boom, it's like looking at those ink blot tests. Like, boom, what's the first thing you see?
Well, I mean, him on top is really distracting. So if you want to go first,
that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. So him on top draws in my eye, and then I can see this glowing white blob below. Togekiss is considered by quite a few people to be the best Draft League Pokemon. I don't know, but I do know Togekiss is absolutely one of the best. Togekiss does make any team and every team better. I fully stand by that statement. I love Togekiss. Looking at another, like, kind of sweeping across, there is a slow Trick Room setter in Galarian Slowbro. There's a slow Trick Room sweeper in Dhelmise, and there's a fast attacker in Latios. These are all good positives. I think that Togekiss and Heatran are quite a good combo, given what they're weak to. They cover for each other overall really well. I mean, Togekiss with water, like, but Togekiss also has really good special defense, and usually water attacks are hitting on the special side anyway. So I'd say that's a big plus. There's also Wide Guard.
Oh, is there ever
Wide Guard? A lot of Wide Guard.
Yeah.
3 Wide Guard users. So
good ones
that can
too.
also help. What's that?
They're good Wide Guard users too. All 3 of them.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, Swampert has the highest base stat total of all starters. So.
Ooh.
Swampert is special.
Fun fact.
Cut above. However, looking at this team as a team, the first thing that jumps out is I'm seeing, okay, the fast mode really centers on Latios, in my opinion. The slow mode centers on Galarian Slowbro and Dhelmise, in my opinion. These are all Psychic Ghost types, which means they're all weak to Dark and to Ghost. Togekiss has Follow Me. That's really good for stopping the Ghost and Dark attacks. Togekiss even resists Dark, which is awesome. You don't have Astral Barrage in a Series 9 format, so don't have to worry about being unable to stop that with Togekiss. Dhelmise doesn't particularly care about Snarl. Okay, but your fast Ace and your slow Trick Room setter, your slow Sweeper, all being weak to 2 of the same type, I think that's a bit of a minus point. It makes it a bit easier to make the same lead for fast mode and slow mode, in my opinion, and that can make it more difficult to pull off consistent wins, I would say. Just thinking specifically about if you're going fast mode or slow mode, it's really helpful to have it where your opponent needs to make an adjustment. They need 2 different leads to cover your fast mode and your slow mode. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, I see, like, the fact that you need to set up with, you know, Latias? Yeah, Latias.
This is Latios.
Latios. Okay. I can never get it right.
Latiati. Oh, wait, it's body.
I'm really bad at those 2. And not to mention Slowbro being weak to the same thing, like you said. It's actually really hard to set up. Like, this team can get going with the right support, but like you said, having the same weakness is kind of easy to... Not easy, but it's going to be a little easier to stop it when it comes to, you know, like, you need to kill it before it, you know, gets its Trick Room or Tailwind off or something like that. Or not to mention just goes off offensively if you're guessing wrong when it comes to that Latios, right? But man, that Hitmontop's distracting.
Right? Yeah. Hitmontop and Ludicolo.
Mr. Rhyme.
I don't know why, but Mr. Rhyme, I think it's because the hands are really active, but overall, like, their body doesn't move that much.
I was remembering the feet, the tap dancing feet, but I forgot the hands are just like da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da.
Just so much more casual, yeah. Meanwhile, Ludicolo is swaying back and forth hypnotically. Like, I was doing commentary, and I had to pause for like 10 seconds. I was just like, how do I purge this from my view without like missing the whole battle? But yeah, so maybe Hitmontop goes, so when we look at this graphic again, we won't be distracted. How about that?
Well, there's also another reason to get rid of Hitmontop on this team. I don't think it's a bad
Oh,
mon. I think
no.
if we were gonna make a move, Hitmontop is so good with Fake Out and Intimidate, and not to mention Technician. I think this thing with an Assault Vest
Wide
gets
guard.
really good, and Wide Guard too. But as we mentioned about value, I think in the A tier, there you can change your entire team with one move when you move an A or an S tier, especially in this league, right? So I think Hitmontop, it's as good as it is. I think this team could definitely benefit from some different offense. In my opinion, I think that Hitmontop could go, but no matter what change you make, I think it needs to have Fake Out. I think we mentioned earlier, you mentioned earlier that you don't need Fake Out, but it's just so good. There's a reason every single team has one. So I think if you're gonna
Right.
if you're gonna eliminate your only Fake Out user, I think you need to pick up another one. And so many things get it right, so it's I don't think it's gonna be too hard to do. Yeah.
I I would like to see a really fast fake out user, but I think all the fast fake outers that I can think of have been drafted. The reason I was thinking fast is because there's one Pokemon with higher than base 100 speed on this team, which is Latios. Miltank at 100 can still be adequate, but yeah, I think it's somewhat fair to say Hitmontop and
Maybe
Throw don't do the same thing, but like they both have wide guard. There's Intimidate on Luxray. They've got the same attack. They're both really bulky, and you're gonna close combat.
Yeah.
The biggest difference I would say is the lack of Vacuum Wave and Bullet Punch, which this team could probably use, so I can understand the Hitmontop being here. So, like just having strong priority attacks is really nice. So I want to see Throw.
Well, it's one of the few Pokemon that now that you mentioned that actually get 3 priority moves: Vacuum Wave, Mach Punch, Bullet Punch. Like I think
Right.
the only other one I can think of, maybe Inteleon. I know it gets Aqua Jet and Ice Shard, which is actually I think the
Right.
only mon that
And
gets it,
Sucker Punch.
and Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
And I actually
so
think
there's 3.
Hitmontop gets Sucker Punch as well. So that's even 4.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's so its speed definitely gets made up for from those moves as well. So Hitmontop is just so hard to drop. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't drop it. It's just so
Yeah,
good.
it's understandable.
Yeah.
We don't blame you.
Yeah, exactly. So the next team, because we talked about the one that we definitely trade this because it's the only move you can make to make this team better, right? Like when it comes to it. But the OPL, representing Australia, I think Snoot's from Australia, I think. I could be wrong. I'm actually going to check that for sure. But yeah, like I like this team. I like this team a lot. I think the first thing that stands out to me is kind of the same reason that Hitmontop stood out, is because it's flapping his wings.
Oh, I don't know why Flapple doesn't have the same effect on me. Like Flapple's trying to stay alive. I can respect that.
Why did I choose GIFs for this video? I could have just done pictures and they're all motionless, but
Well, most of them are calm. I don't know. My eyes go to Ice Cube.
oh yeah, it's really cool looking. I like Ice Cube. Actually, Morpeko.
Yeah.
I forgot this team had Morpeko. My favorite Pokemon in Draft League is probably Morpeko. It does everything. So I think it's probably the most value you can get in the D tier. One of the best D tier picks because it just it gets things like Quash, Fake Out, Aura Wheel at 110 power. Like it's changes its type. It's so cool. Like it.
Whoa. I mean,
Sorry.
I love fanboying just as much as the next boy, but like if you want to see more Pico in action, maybe don't let them know. Like, I mean, it's not like this isn't out there,
Yeah.
but if you're so used to not seeing more Pico, you might forget.
That's true. Yeah, I don't want to give away all of the things, and I would also be here for an entire hour-long video on Morpeko alone because I think we're reaching that point. So I think what we're gonna do is we'll do one more team, and then maybe we'll do a part 2, and go from there. Because this isn't the WPL here with 2 hour-long videos, right? So. But one of the first things I really, really like with a team is redirection, and not just Rage Powder. Redirection is Follow Me, and Togepi in the C tier is really, really good value. I think Togepi also being one of the slower after you users as well is really, really cool. Access to the really cool moves that help its partner in many, many different ways with after you, just in case you set Trick Room, Follow Me, obviously, as mentioned, and Helping Hand as well. And it does some chip damage as well. D-Gleam is always nice to have on there as well, and uses that Intimidate probably as good as any other. So I think Togepi is a really, really nice piece to scoop up. I think it was actually grabbed early because I want to say that my rep wanted it as well and wasn't too happy when when Snoot took it.
Right.
So
Redirection has a really high premium, especially Follow Me, because you do have Safety Goggles, Overcoat, and being Grass type to get around Rage Powder, but Follow Me doesn't have any of those mechanics, so it is understandable, even if it seems odd to have a C tier go early. But you know, if you really want something, you just go right on ahead and take it before anybody else can. So I respect that.
And Togepi being a kind of a corner piece, like you take Togepi off this team, I think the team gets considerably worse. So I think when you say that about any Mon on a team, you can look at any of these 16 rosters, and if you can pick one Mon and say, yeah, this team kind of falls apart, I think it's very, very justifiable to grab it early, regardless of being a C tier. Like I think I grabbed with my round 2 pick last season was Meowstic Male. Because the rest of the draft was, and I think you actually taught me that in the early stages of my draft league career, kind of in a sense, is it doesn't matter where it is, which tier it is. If your team is built around it, get it early.
Yep, always. I mean, everyone was laughing at me when I picked up Boltund round 2.
I knew you were going to say Boltund.
I needed Boltund. I needed my Boltund.
Wasn't drafted this season.
Yeah, well,
in the All-Star League, I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah, true, because Boltund did eventually get picked up in WPL. I choices were made, and we're just gonna say that. I could probably find a few teams who could accommodate Boltund really well. I'm not going to badmouth anyone for not drafting them or say like they're crazy or an idiot or something like that. I mean, you got to also stick with your play style and pick Pokemon who fit the vision for what you want to do with a team. So you also have to make do with the restrictions on tiers. So if it gets really difficult to find room for Boltund, I understand that. For this team, when it comes to like finding room for stuff, I noticed the same pattern as the last team. You've got in this case 2 Trick Room Sweepers, both Psychic, and then your fastest Pokemon is Ghost. So you have your fast mode and your slow mode being weak to Ghost and Dark. But also with redirection and a fairy type who resists dark. So really hitting the same notes there. So like I think that's an unfortunate aspect. Having Follow Me in both cases does go away to offset that. I think that's a definite positive. And you could have, as a Trick Room Sweeper, feasibly Colossal instead. So you don't have like just the Reuniclus and Bronzong on the slow end. You could have Colossal instead, and then it gets, you know, a little less bad. Togepi's got the redirection, so like it's not the end of the world, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between the other team we were talking about with the Light Ghost weaknesses and things like that. When you have a nice redirection in Togepi, I think it just kind of makes it a little bit different. But you definitely, as everybody knows that plays Draft League, you don't want to overlap too many weaknesses, especially when it comes to rolls, which I think you touched on really, really nicely, and I wasn't really thinking of that mostly. But the one thing that stands out to me on this team is the Urshifu and the Colossal made famous by Wolf Glick. Not to mention, it was made famous by Wolf Glick, but I think everybody and their dog was using it last season.
I think it already had won it, as in the combo, had already won Players Cup 1 before.
Did it
before
actually?
really
I think it was
the Colossal
Dragapult.
was out.
I think he had Dragapult and he had Urshifu, two ways of activating it, right?
Oh, he had both, yeah. Colossal. Oh, okay, you're talking about the combo specifically. My
Yeah,
bad.
exactly.
Like,
Um,
Colossal was no secret at the start of Gen 8, but yeah. People were experimenting also with Urshifu once Urshifu came out, but I think Urshifu Colossal, that's really more strongly associated with Wolfie. You're right, yeah.
mhm. Yeah, and I know in my experience in Draft League, I feel like the common strats that usually work on the ladder, such as the Steam Engine strat with weakness policy, and the G-Max residual damage is just so strong. But I feel like in Draft League, like you've got the potential team right in front of you in your draft prep, right? So you know they have a Togepi, you know they have the Colossal strat, you know they got Spectre. I feel like when you're expecting something like that, I think what makes it as good as it should be, or as is considered on the ladder, is the lack of it, if that makes any sense at all. I feel like when you have a nuke, metaphorical nuke, don't have a nuke. When you actually have a nuke like
Well,
this strat,
Jay, nobody's gonna go pick up a nuke just because you said it's not. It's
well,
not quite that easy.
it's
One does not simply.
yeah, you're right. You're right. So, but when you have a strat like this, I feel like when the threat of the strat is almost as scary as the strat itself, and almost as effective as the strat itself. So I remember last season I had Glacier on my team, and it was clearly a monster on my team, something you definitely need to check for. I brought it intentionally not often, and I actually went. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I went 6-2,
And finished.
yeah, I got knocked out the first round of the playoffs.
No.
Oh.
I mean, we had a number of 6-2 placements, so where you finished among the 6-2s is significant. That was.
Yeah, I was third place out of the 8 teams. I think I was.
There you go.
I think I was. Yeah, third out of 8 teams, and I think 6-2. There were 3 teams. I want to say I could be wrong. There might have been 4.
I was 6-2, and I finished 4th.
Ooh, so there were 4. Yeah, and I think one of the teams that that lost in the week 8 actually dropped to 5-3 and still made it and played you. So I think yeah. So in the end, what I'm trying to say is, I feel like some of the success I had was based on not using a threat, because a lot of people had to prep very hard for it, bring a lot of counters for it, not just one, because it's so good. And I remember a couple of opponents that I was beating were saying, man, I'm shocked you didn't bring it. I'm like, well, it worked, right? So I think in my experience, going back to the Colossal strat, I feel like when you're ready for it, there are so many ways to stop it. If you're expecting it, if you catch them off guard, maybe back row is also another nice way, which I can see a lot of these better draft players representing their leagues in this league. I can see them setting it up very nicely in the back row and definitely putting it to good use. So I'm curious to see how he's going to use it, in front or back row, or just, here's my best, try to beat it. So we'll see how often he brings it or not. But if there's one thing I had to change about this team, as we're doing, is not Runerigus. Oh my goodness, what's that thing called? Reuniclus. Wow, I typed in Runerigus, but Reuniclus here. Personally, I've never really liked Runerigus. Not because it's a
Reuniclus.
Oh my goodness, I'm reading it again. I'm sorry. Everybody, yeah. I apologize. Reuniclus, I'm literally going to delete that so I don't do it again. Reuniclus, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think its design is really cool and its special attack is decent, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but in the end, I think getting a different Trick Room Sweeper, maybe with a different weakness, as we mentioned, such as not a dark weakness or a ghost weakness, might do a little bit better when it comes to switch-ins. And I think this team is phenomenal. I think Flapple's very sneaky as well with Hustle and things like that. And you see enough support on this team to do very, very well with Bronzong, Spectrier. Funny I'm calling Spectrier a support mon. Togepi, Morpeko. Yeah, it does really, really well at 2 things. So it's a very, very good pickup there. Do you have any notes to add to this roster before we go on to the SBC, our last one of the video?
I really want to see Flapple, and I really want to see the Ice Cube. So I don't want to see either of them dropped for that reason, but I could also see like introducing Tailwind to the team could be really nice. In addition to what you said, like, I don't know, Bronzong and Reuniclus are both Trick Room setters, and they don't really have an advantage over the other, except I guess in like defensive typing.
Hmm.
Um, well, what's really nice with Bronzong is it, it it's really a risk most of the time to go for fire or for ground, which are two of the weaknesses because they could have either heat proof or levitate.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a it's redundance, which I don't think is like best. It would be cool with like the intimidate to see with the intimidate available to see like maybe Slowking instead of Reuniclus, for example. Um, you can't make that trade, but just as like a hypothetical, what I like about Slowking there is Slowking's coverage is good. I think a water type on this team would be, in addition to
Urshifu, yeah.
Urshifu, would be good. Strong special attacker still, or strong enough.
It doesn't take care
I
of that
think.
weakness we were talking about, but I think, as we mentioned before, the Togepi
Oh, psychic!
is yeah.
Ah,
But again, we
yeah,
were saying
you're right.
we were saying it's something notable, but not a major concern because of the redirection, especially in the resist
Right.
form of a fairy
Yeah.
type. So I don't disagree with you in picking up Slowking. Like, the coverage would be nice and things like that, but what would really put a wrench into a lot of people's plans is adding a sand mode. I think Sand Rush from the Stoutland is a very sneaky,
Hmm.
strong thing. Stoutland gets really, really good support moves with Intimidate as the ability, and Snarl and things like that. Not to mention After You. Is
Oh my God. Hear me out.
okay. By the way, everybody, before he says this, whenever he tells me "hear me out," it's always something really neat. So I'm actually really curious to see what he's gonna say.
Choice Scarf, Sandstream, Surf Tyranitar to activate Steam Engine on Colossal. I mean, I said it so if people listen, they might see it coming. But other than that, are you going to see that coming? You're not going to see that coming.
No, I think Tyranitar has enough shenanigans that you don't know what to expect with T-Tar, like, because on the special side it's really strong and physical
And
as well.
they both get the +1 special defense. I mean, mama,
that made me
that's
laugh,
the tea.
and this is why people are going to watch the next episode. So because me and Octo, you put us in a room. We're not in the same room, but if you put us in a room in a show like this, we're going to be going a little longer than we want. So we're actually going to split this into 2 videos. So we're going to talk about our last team, the SBC, and then we're actually going to go. We're going to end the video. And we're going to release a part 2. I don't know if it's going to be recorded tonight, and just so you guys have a little bit of a break when it comes to listening. Yeah,
Sorry,
big time no. No, there you have it, folks. It won't be there for a couple days. But this is actually one of my favorite teams. I'm actually really glad that we didn't plan this, but the SBC is one of my favorite teams. First overall pick, grabbing Celesteela. Very, very cool. Unexpected first overall pick. You don't usually see Steela as the first overall. Usually you see like a Togekiss or a Dragapult or things like that.
Right.
But I definitely, I didn't, when he first picked it, I didn't say, yep, awesome pick. I went, let's see where this goes. And he didn't disappoint. I think this is a very, very, very awesome roster and a very Celesteela-based team.
I love Galvantula. I love Doug Trio. I'm excited to see Rotom Frost in action.
Can I just pause you for a second? This is why we have him and myself on this show, is because those were the last 3 I was going to mention. I was going to mention Blastoise and Tangrowth and Steela and Persian, things like that. And the first ones Octo goes to are Doug Trio, Galvantula, and Rotom Frost. So we balance each other out. Carry on.
I love him. I love him. But also, I think all 3 of them really benefit this core that's a bit more like bulky offense oriented. Like, I don't think people think of Garchomp as like especially bulky per se, but in a Dynamax format, because the HP and defenses are just so high, you can really increase their survivability. The 4 times weakness to ice, yes, that's kind of a big deal, but there are ways to mitigate it. You do have
3 resistances I see just off the top of my head.
but also just a lot of ways to hit ice attackers really hard, probably before they get a move off. I mean,
everything.
you've got 120 base speed with Doug Trio, who I firmly believe in. Yeah, I like to see with bulky offense, fast speed control, supportive Pokemon, and there are 2 above base 100 speed, but under base 100, I think Roserade can really help, and so can Rotom Frost. It is fair to say, though, Roserade has Sleep Powder.
Another scary thing as well. A little faster than Tangrowth, so they both get it. But I do think support Roserade is really, really cool. And you know what I'm noticing looking at this roster? Left side, right side. I'm seeing support on the left, and we didn't plan this, and offense on the right. And right in the middle, splitting the 2, is the one that does both. In Celesteela. I feel like it's tanky and offensive as well, so it's kind of a staller. Like you got offense, support, and then stall. I would kind of put in the middle, right? So I think this is a very, very well-rounded team. One of my favorites, actually. I have experience using Alolan Persian, a little bit of Galvantula, not much. Other than Tangrowth, same season, actually. I had both of those. I think a Tangrowth was very, very sneaky good. On the
Tangrowth season 1, Alolan Persian, we had season 2 when I was mentoring you.
No, see, no one would have even known if you didn't. They would have been like, "Oh yeah, good point," and then just and then you're just like, Jay, excuse me, that's not right."
I'm a bureaucrat. I have to be the best kind of correct.
Please do that, though. It holds me accountable. It holds me accountable. And,
okay.
Go ahead.
Speaking of holding people accountable, thank you for mentioning Alolan Persian. I just realized, how dumb of me. Alolan Persian's support suite is also really good. Persian's Disruption is excellent, and the fact that there are, I can think of 2 fake out users, in the format who are faster.
Ooh, can I guess?
2 who tie.
Can I guess? The faster ones. Just make a game out of it.
Sure.
I know Weavile is one of them. Oh, and the other one, okay, this is kind of cheating. You already mentioned it before. It's Salazzle.
Yeah. Well, hey, you listened. That's good.
I'm a good listener, Jay.
And you retained?
No, you're not Jay. Oh, my goodness. By the way, everybody, I used to do a podcast with a guy named Jay, and yeah.
You could talk to yourself or him and leave it to the listener to parse out.
Fun times. I miss you, Jay. Shout out Tevis. But yeah, your analysis on you were going about Persian as well, and all the many, many things you can do with it.
Yeah. Dark type with foul play as always.
Ooh, stab boost.
But there's just especially next to potential Dynamax targets, there's a lot to be annoyed by and have to deal with. Bit of mind games. But yeah, a few Pokemon who can run dual roles like Blastoise.
Yeah.
Rotom Frost could be more support, but also fairly good offenses, and it has staying power. The worst stat is HP, and then if they Dynamax, it gets doubled. So I think this is a really strong team.
Your max Rotom, that actually adds to it, because with the Blastoise too, you can run somewhat of a Blizzard spam on this team, can't you?
No offense to Blastoise, but oh, unless you mean if Blastoise goes for Shell Smash and then goes for Max Hailstorm, and then you've got Rotom Frost in the back, I would do that.
Yeah, things like that. Right, Blastoise needs a bit to get going, but and Life Orb and things like that. It's not exactly the strongest attacker, but Blastoise can get, for example, beside the Rotom, Blastoise gets a Shell Smash or has Life Orb, and then you max get that Hydro Cannon. Okay, gotcha. I thought that might have been the the Inteleon G-Max move.
No, that's
Hydro Snipe. Yeah, Hydro Cannon is correct.
Yeah, it's Cannonade. Hydro Cannon is the water hyper beam.
And
it's Hydro.
So Cannon.
Wait,
No, you're right.
Cannonade.
Cannonade is the residual
Yeah.
move. Yeah. So turn 1, Cannonade goes off. Awesome, you got your residual, and then next turn you Hailstorm, and then you can start blizzarding with your Rotom after, for example, the turn 1 getting your Electro Web off for the speed control, things like that. And now you've got your Blizzard spam going with the Rotom. You don't have to worry about changing the weather if you go for another water attack, things like that with the Cannonade. So I think I can see a little bit of synergy there, which is kind of neat. But I think just overall this team is just phenomenal. I think he did a great job drafting with the SBC. We don't even talk about Arena Trap. Like
Or slow mode. I always see my problem is one of the things I like about Dugtrio is Arena Trap, but I've been maining a team with Dugtrio in BDSP, and I forget that Dugtrio has Arena Trap. So I'm like playing around like if my opponent switches and then they can't.
No.
Oh man.
Even the player
Arena Trap is really good.
forgets that it has it. Like sometimes when you're playing against a Gothitelle with Shadow Tag, you're like, all right, time to switch. Oh crap, right? and that's
Right.
the effect that it has on it. So I think I don't even know how you plan for facing someone with Arena Trap or Shadow Tag, other than in the case of Shadow Tag, a Ghost
Monoghost.
type. Yeah, Monoghost is definitely a draftable team. But just to kind of button up this team, I think I have here as a move to make on this team, just to make it even better than it is. I think Roserade is a little bit of an overlap with the Tangrowth, just with the moveset. Yes, it has a little bit better coverage on the special side than Tangrowth does. So if I had to pick something to go, I just love the support way too much. Maybe Galvantula, because you already got Persian. Maybe Galvantula. I had that same problem season 2.
Whoa.
But
Oh yeah, you did.
Galvantula is free agent drop fodder in our league for some reason. It just seems to be picked up, drafted, and dropped.
Oh no. Well, in that case, we traded for Wishy Washy because I was going to literally degut the person
the owner
who was.
Yeah, you love your wishy-washy, which we'll get to in the next episode, because I think one of the second of the 8 teams, the 16 teams have it. But if I were to, I have swap out for a fire resist, but I think after looking at this team a little bit longer, I think the Trick Room mode is really good in a way of setting it up with Aromatisse, and the Alolan Marowak does very, very well. But its base speed is not as low as I'd like it. I think it's in the 40s. So I think it's good. And situationally, it's really good if you face a team that's higher than 40-something. And unfortunately, you can't really drop an Iron Ball on your Marowak with the Thick Club bonus that you need for the most part. I think you would definitely need another Trick Room option. Maybe one more Trick Room option for the Roserade, I think would be really nice, or maybe the Galvantula. I love Galvantula too, with its Compound Eyes ability, is just very nice for, I think it's 97% accurate Thunder, and 100% accurate.
93.
93? We'll check that math after, because I think it's 97. My bad. Is it 85% on Thunder?
Thunder is base 70 to begin with, and
it's
times 1.25. Or
1.1. Like wide lens? Is it wide lens?
No. Compound Ice is better than wide lens.
Oh, okay. I was thinking a 90. Yeah, my bad. My math's off. But now everybody knows that my math is just excellent, right? So, grabbing a fire resist for the Roserade and just adding to that slow mode something, hopefully base 30. That seems to be the number you want to shoot for the most part. The really strong Trick Room mons are usually, if you can.
I mean, Hatterene, mama.
S tier. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Roserade is, I think it's a C tier mon. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's C. So unfortunately, the cool thing about Draft League is like trying to fit the tiers and roles and kind of putting a nice bow on it. So I think Roserade is a really good mon. I think it kind of fits on this team as well. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I mean,
hear me out.
Second fire type. Chandelure.
Yeah, and Chandelure's a little high as well. So, but these are good examples of what to look for. I think you can find poor man's version of these mons in every single tier, which is really, really cool, which is why those undervalued and underused mon videos that you see your favorite YouTubers use are so valuable for Draft League specifically. And hopefully we do something like that in the future. But that pretty much does it for the SBC, and we apologize in advance for keeping you guys here so long. If you stuck around for the whole video, thank you. I don't know if we're that entertaining to listen to, but if you think we are, awesome. But Octo, thank you very much for joining me on this video. I didn't give you a lot of warning. Your expertise is definitely a little more valuable than mine and is a little different than mine. So it's kind of nice to get mine and yours. So that's really nice. Any last words before we end it off and head on to part 2?
Yeah, no, if you stuck around, you should definitely get my phone number. I mean,
it's a long distance call to wherever you are to the Netherlands. I'm pretty sure it's long distance, even if you are in the Netherlands, because it's like, yeah.
I think some people speak Dutch.
Call them on Discord. It's free.
Yeah.
Calling cards aren't a thing anymore. But hey, we're just gonna end it off there. Thank you so much again for sticking around. Drop a like if you liked it. Drop a comment if you really liked it, and tell all your friends. And I think this is gonna be a lot of fun this season. Thank you to all the players, all the owners for being a part of this. And yeah, we'll see you next time on the episode of whatever this is called. Peace.
It's the big league, trying to max your ears if you can't hear me. The players that made it, they can't be forsaken, they hop in the black with me.